Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark, and we're continuing this study here in 1 Peter chapter 1. We should be finishing verse 7 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, as we saw last lesson in the first part of verse 7, Peter here writes that the trial of your faith being much more precious than of gold that perishes. And he says here that it's not your faith which is much more precious than gold, but it is the trial of your faith that's more precious than of gold. And he says that it's more precious than gold that perisheth. You know, gold is one of the most coveted materials that we would desire here on earth. There are a lot of valuable things on earth that man would like, but gold is one of the materials that most everybody would love to have. And because we see gold as being very valuable, and it is valuable when it's purified. And it's the same with our faith. Our faith becomes valuable after it has been through trials, after it has been through the fire of trials. Does our faith become of much more higher value? And it's the same with gold. After gold has been put through the fire, it becomes purified and much more valuable. And he says here, much more precious than of gold that perisheth. You know, eventually all the gold of this world is going to perish. It really is. God has determined it in 2 Peter chapter 3 that eventually everything that you see in this world will eventually, God is going to melt it down and burn it, set it on fire, and purge it and cleanse it from sin. And then he's going to take it and create a whole new heaven and earth. So the gold that we are coveting eventually will go away. And it's kind of sad, because how many people in this world have been killed? How many people's lives in this world have been ruined because of the pursuit of gold? How many families have been destroyed? How many countries, how many wars have been started over gold? Something that's going to perish, a material that eventually will perish. God is going to destroy it eventually. The gold that we know of on this earth, God will destroy it. He will cleanse it, purge it, and cleanse it. And he will create a whole new heaven and a whole new earth. And yet it's sad to say that mankind, many people have been killed. Many people's lives have been destroyed, families destroyed, countries have warred over gold, something that will perish in the end. And you know what? If there's one thing, as a Christian, if there's one thing that you could really desire, it's to have a purified faith. Because in the eyes of God, a purified faith is much more valuable than any gold that's going to perish. Isn't that true? I mean, as a Christian and someone who loves God, would you rather have, I know, the temptation may be very strong. Would you rather have a bar of gold in your hand, purified gold? Or would you rather have a strong, purified faith? And I hope you'd say you're going to choose the purified faith. You know, I know the temptation to want to choose the gold, the bar of gold. But you know, I think really deep down in our hearts, there's a yearning in our heart for something which is much more valuable than anything that this world could offer. And that is to have a purified faith, strong relationship with God, a strong, intimate, close relationship with God where you pray and he talks to you, you talk to him, and you're strong in your heart, you're strong in your conviction with God. And that is of tremendous, in the eyes of God, having that kind of faith is of much more valuable to God than any material here on earth that's going to perish, isn't it? Sure it is. He says, though it be tried with fire, gold that has been purified with fire is the most pure and costly gold that we know of. But in the heart of God, the trial of your faith is of much more value to God than even the purest gold. And that's what we've said. Gold is of much more value after it's been tried in the fire. But you know what? Your faith is of immense more value than gold that has been tried. Your faith that has been purified by trials and tests is of more value to you and to God than gold that's been tried by fire. And he says here that it might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. The end result of all of God's testings in our lives is that he may get all the honor and all the glory and all the praise. Not only do we praise and honor him while we go through each trial, but at his appearing, at the second coming, and forever after in heaven, will he be worthy of honor and praise because he's brought us through these trials. We praise and we honor and we glorify him because all of his trials was to bring us forth with a pure and strong faith. And he was faithful to see us through all of them. And that's what it is when God has purified our faith and he's brought us through these trials and these tests, and we have a strong faith. The only thing we can do is to praise and honor him. Why? Because it was all his work. It wasn't anything of us. We weren't the ones producing the trials. We weren't the ones that were bringing us through. God is the one who has brought us through, and we praise and we honor him. In Romans chapter 12, verse 3 says, "For I say through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God has dealt to every man the measure of faith." And God has given to everyone a measure of faith. But how we use that portion is our choice. We can put that faith in worldly things, or we can exercise our faith towards God. People spend lots of money so they can wear on their bodies pure gold. But the faith that pleases God is a faith that has been purified by trials. And this is the kind of faith we should want to be adorned with. People in this world spend thousands, maybe millions of dollars having things made out of gold, watches and bracelets and necklaces and all kinds of things made out of gold, and they'll spend thousands and tens of thousands, maybe millions of dollars buying things, having things made out of purified gold. But you know what? You know what the most important thing that we could be adorned with? You know what that is? That's a faith that's been tried. That's been tried in the fires of tests and trials in our life. It's a purified faith that has gone through these trials and these tests. And that's what we need to be adorned with. That's what, as Christians, that is the most precious thing that we could have our souls adorned, our spirits adorned with, is to have an ornament of a tried, tested and tried faith, a purified faith through the trials, okay? And we're going to start verse 8 next lesson, all right? But until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.